there is a counterintuitive or paradoxical component of the laws of tsarat. The laws of the discoloration of skin, the blemish, which is an external expression of something that's actually going wrong beneath the skin, beneath the surface, some moral, unethical problem which expresses and reflects itself externally for all to see. This paradoxical component has to do with the situation in which a patient comes to a doctor. In this case, it's a regular Jew comes to a spiritual doctor, a Kohen, and says, look, I've got a patch of discolored skin. Is this tsarat? The Kohen can make the diagnosis on the spot and declare the person tameh if the conditions are right. If there is ambiguity, the Kohen would quarantine the individual for a week to determine if the tsarat changed and met the criteria to determine the diagnosis of tameh or tahor. Tameh, impure, would require a cleansing process, and tahor would enable the patient, the individual, to return home because the skin discoloration was not a spiritual malady, a spiritual defect, but rather some kind of other illness that had nothing to do with tsarat. However, in this case where a individual comes to a Kohen and says, look, my entire body is from head to toe is covered with this skin disease, and I am kulo lavan. I am kulo havach lavan, the pasuk says. Once a patient has reached the extreme symptom of their entire body, all of the surface of the skin being covered in this malady, then the Kohen says tahorhu. So whereas a patch of the white discoloration is considered tameh, if the whole body is covered with it, then the individual is considered tahor. How can this be? It would seem that the more extreme manifestation should be more tameh than the more moderate manifestation. The Abarbanel and many others offer creative explanations for this counterintuitive piece of legislation within the laws of tsarat. The Abarbanel says that it has to do with the color lavan. Lavan represents white, which is a color that absorbs all other colors, and is a color which symbolizes emptiness, because any mark upon it is clearly seen and expressed. And the fact that this individual is completely white from head to toe demonstrates that they are completely empty. They have reached the bottom of the barrel and they have hit rock bottom. At that point, there is actually already a shift from fighting this disease to accepting it, a shift from denial to acceptance. And that is the point where the Kohen can declare tahor. Because the psychology behind that is that oftentimes we are only in a state to be able to receive, to be able to grow and change and make a shift in our lives once we have internalized that we have a void or an emptiness, a lacking. If we are still in a state of wrestling between having and not having, then we don't have the interest or the capacity to want to fill ourselves up. And in the spiritual domain, which tsarat is really finds itself in that domain, being kulo lavan, being completely empty, is actually a virtue because it designates the individual to be on the way towards receiving, towards progressing, and towards moving towards a higher spiritual state. So I hope we can appreciate the meaning and the symbolism behind this seemingly paradoxical piece of the laws of tzarat, and that we can look in our own lives at the voids, at the lackings, at the moments of emptiness as spiritual opportunities to open ourselves, to be available to surprises, to new experiences, and different horizons for spiritual growth. I look forward to seeing you in Shul.